to Camp Adventure. I am so glad to see everyone back for the next part of our adventure this week. Yesterday, we heard the amazing story of who Jesus is and learned that Jesus is worth following. I am so completely amazed when I think about the fact that Jesus, God's Son, the Messiah, the Prince of Peace, the Good Shepherd, the resurrection and the life, the Christ, the Savior, the way, the truth, and the life, the Word became flesh, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords invites you and me to follow Him. And it makes me ask the question, why would Jesus want me to follow Him? We're going to be discovering the answer to that question throughout this week, but we can begin to see why as we look at our memory verse. Those who say they live in God should live their lives as Jesus did. 1 John 2:6. Let's read that together this time. Those who say they live in God should live their lives as Jesus did. 1 John 2:6. Way to go! That was great, everyone. So, did you find the answer to our question in that memory verse? Jesus invites me to follow Him so that I can learn to be like Him and so that I can learn to live my life like He lived His life. And I think that is so amazing. Now, you might be thinking another question. Are you sure Jesus is inviting me to follow Him? Maybe you feel bad because you don't feel like you're good enough or smart enough or old enough for Jesus to invite you. Maybe you're worried because you know that sometimes you make the wrong choice. Well, if you're thinking that, I want to take you back to the day that Jesus first invited people to follow Him, because what we see is that Jesus invited everyone to follow Him, not just perfect people who never made mistakes, not just people who were really good and really smart and really strong. Jesus invited everyone to follow Him. Check it out with me. One day, as Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, He saw Simon and his brother Andrew throwing a net into the water, for they fished for a living. Jesus called out to them, "Come, follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people." And they left their nets at once and followed Him. A little farther up the shore, Jesus saw Zebedee's son, James and John, in a boat repairing their nets. He called them at once, and they also followed Him, leaving their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired men. Mark 1:16-20. Okay, so the first people that Jesus invited to follow Him were not kings or priests or doctors or rich people with nice clothes and lots of money. He started by inviting some guys who worked on a boat catching fish. And they were probably pretty dirty and smelly from working with fish all day. But that didn't bother Jesus. He invited them to follow Him. Then Jesus went out to the lake shore again and taught the crowds that were coming to Him. And as He walked along, He saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me and be my disciple," Jesus said to him. So Levi got up and followed Him. Mark 2:13-14. So next, Jesus invited a tax collector, which might not seem like a big deal to you, but it was a really big deal. You see, tax collectors were not the most popular guys. Most people hated them because they were in charge of collecting taxes. That's money that was owed to the government. And a lot of tax collectors were not honest, and they charged people too much money so that they could keep a bunch of money for themselves. Most people didn't want to have anything to do with tax collectors, but not Jesus. Jesus invited Levi to follow Him. And it doesn't stop there. Later, Levi invited Jesus and His disciples to his home as dinner guests, along with many tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. There were many people of this kind among Jesus' followers. But when the teachers of religious law, who were Pharisees, saw Him eating with tax collectors and other sinners, they asked His disciples, "Why does He eat with such scum?" When Jesus heard this, He told them, "Healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do. I have come to call not those who think they are righteous, but those who know they are sinners." Mark 2:15-17. The good people who followed all of the rules didn't understand why Jesus would let people who were so bad follow Him around. You see, usually when these amazing teachers would come to town, they would only invite the very best and smartest and nicest people who were popular and who did all the right things and wore all the right clothes and said all the right words. Those were the ones that they wanted to follow them. They surrounded themselves with the best. And that is how they kept a good reputation as a great teacher. But Jesus was totally different. He came to help us all be more like him. He wasn't worried about his reputation. He wasn't worried that the people following him weren't perfect. It didn't matter to Jesus what the people were like before they started following Jesus. Jesus just wanted people to follow him, to be with him, so that they could learn to be like him. And Jesus invites everyone to follow him, including you. Today, I want you to know that Jesus is inviting you and you and you and me to follow him. Following Jesus is the greatest adventure you will ever have. Are you ready to follow Jesus?